Hello and welcome to Profiles in Music Therapy. I'm Kalani Das. My guest today has been practicing music therapy for over 12 years. He works primarily in special education, but he has also provided services in substance abuse rehabilitation, cancer centers, and in private practice. He's also a percussionist and drummer. He's taught privately and also in high school ensembles and university curriculum settings. He is a trainer with the Music Therapy Drumming Consortium and author of the book Totaku, The Use of Percussion in Music Therapy. He is currently a PhD student at the University of Kansas. Bill Matney, welcome to Profiles in Music Therapy.
Thank you, Kalani. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, well, I've been a big fan of your work over the time that we've known each other. I don't know what it's been, maybe 10 years coming up.
About 10.
Yeah, and so full disclosure, just so everybody knows, you and I do work together in music therapy drumming, and have taught courses together and worked together, and we're working peers and friends. So
I think back to our original meetings, and it was actually me coming to your trainings too. So we've played all sorts of roles together.
That's right. That's right. The student becomes the teacher. Well, tell everybody a little bit about what got you interested in music therapy in the first place. What drew you into music therapy?
Oh, what a great question. So I love Thai food. Let's just start there as an interesting beginning. I began studying music at a community college in Austin, and there's this wonderful Thai restaurant in Austin called Satay. So if you ever get a chance to go there, if you happen to be in Austin, I highly recommend it. There was a manager at Satay. Yeah, I see you're writing it down. There was a manager at Satay who was going to study music therapy in the same city that I was going to study jazz at the time. And so that was my introduction, and it always was in the back of my mind. While I was studying jazz, I had an interesting epiphany that I was learning and loving everything I was learning. I was into world music. I was playing the drum set and felt like I was ingesting so much knowledge and incorporating that into my musical playing. But I missed the connection with people. I didn't feel that I had that. And once I realized that, that little plant in the back of my mind grew, and I started looking at music therapy as an option. And once I took that option, I never turned back.
And that, I'm sure that is a shared story with a lot of people who are tuning into this, a lot of other music therapists and recreational music facilitators and teachers and people as well. I know it's been a similar story for me. I just love that personal connection. So along those lines, what are, how would you describe your particular approach to music therapy? I know that's a broad question, but when you think about music therapy in terms of a service, a healthcare service, how do you approach that maybe on the personal or musical perspective? Take it where you will.
Wow, it is a broad question, and I think you really highlight the 2 points. When you say personal, I think person-centered, and when you say musical, I think music-centered. My tendency and my approach, my theoretical approach, is pretty broad, and it's something that I'm really digging into while I'm here at KU, studying lots of material, lots of philosophy, and theoretical orientations. But what it comes down to is meeting the client where they're at and doing it with as much musical connection as you possibly can. So I'm probably addressing with a very broad answer, but I think that's in some ways the best way to begin.
Well, we've talked about that, especially in the music therapy drumming training. So let's maybe bring our lens in a little bit tighter on some of the work that you specifically have developed, and maybe we can go actually before we talk about MTD. Let's talk about Totaku, which was really a landmark book, in my opinion, especially in the field of music therapy, because there hasn't been that much specifically on the use of drumming and percussion. So if you could just tell people, why did you write Totaku? What does What's the purpose of Totaku for music therapy?
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for your thoughts and for centering in on this because it's a great point of departure. As a percussionist, uh, I see the value of music perhaps from a particular lens that has been talked about in the field, but perhaps not explored as in depth as it could be or should be. Um, so Tataku actually began as my master's thesis, and it began as an analysis of literature, um, answering broadly two questions. How do we use percussion in music therapy, and why do we use percussion in music therapy? And by looking at themes that arose from the literature, I was able to think about how these things could be framed in a manual, on top of the need to show people how they can play the instruments, to give them musical options and musical opportunities, to understand the indigenous traditions from which these instruments that we use every single day come from. So that plays a large role in my consideration of music centered therapy.
Right. I totally understand that because it's difficult to use an instrument to connect with the client on a personal level if you're not able to use the instrument on a musical level first. We're using instruments that, while accessible, and that seems to be sort of the catchword when we talk about percussion and drums, right? It's accessible, but can the therapist really, use that musically to a great depth, or to what degree, and thereby create the music that could then connect him or her with the client.
Absolutely. If we think about that wonderful triangle, the music, the therapist, and the client, in order for that triangle to truly be as strong as it can be, we have to have that connection with the music. And so, whatever instrument we're playing, we want to be able to unlock those musical capacities.
So that's a great segue into the purpose of music therapy drumming, and the music therapy drumming training. So I'm gonna, we could probably both talk about that, but I'd really like to have people get your perspective on, what is MTD, and why is it important?
So, you brought up the term accessibility a little while ago, which is a wonderful term. It's used a lot in our field. It's used in recreational drumming as well. And we talk about the accessibility of percussion instruments for our clients or for our participants. And what a great thing that is that our clients can have that immediate feedback, that immediate success. Yet at the same time, do we limit ourselves by thinking of percussion only as accessible? That's one of the big questions that I wanted to answer through music therapy drumming. And so I took that phrase and said, why don't we talk about it being progressively accessible, opening again that capacity for the musicality of the instrumentation? What I see music therapy drumming doing, and in some way, hopefully one day we'll work ourselves out of a gig, is that music therapists will be able to take all of their musical knowledge that they already have, apply it to percussion, add it to the particular percussion skills that we do our best to teach in music therapy drumming, and make each individual a stronger music therapist and create stronger music experiences for their clients.
Yeah. So just to clarify, for those who are listening that are not familiar at all with what music therapy drumming is, it is a curriculum and a training program. And as you're saying, the idea is, for example, rather than, the therapist play a guitar and have the clients playing all the percussion, maracas or paddle drums or whatever it is, the therapist could develop those skills and facility and musical knowledge to play a conga drum, for example, or a djembe or a frame drum, and create the music using that instrument as well, right? And thereby actually take advantage of and connect with the musical heritage, the musical material, and the music, and the power that, that power in the music, in the percussion music, percussion centered music. I don't know if you'd like, yeah, if there's anything you want to add to that, I think people would like to know.
Yeah, well, I like the word heritage that you used, and that brings immediately to mind for various reasons. You think of Nora Robbins and creative music therapy and their music-centered approach, which is fantastic. Its origination was such in that in terms of music, it was piano-centered, piano-focused, and to this day, the trainings that occur regarding Nora Robbins focus primarily on piano, and I'm so glad that that's there. And I love the piano. What a wonderful instrument.
Beautiful.
Um, so what we're doing is uh, contributing to another instrumentation, providing the musical capacity on that instrumentation to continue to connect, and hopefully, and this is a part of my philosophical orientation, I suppose, to integrate various trainings and orientations in a way that makes stronger music therapists. Period.
Yeah.
This,
Yeah, exactly. I know a while back on the music therapy drumming website, which people are free to go to at any time, musictherapydrumming.com. I'll just throw that out there. And pardon us for the commercial interruption. But I wrote an article called Competency 7.4, I believe, right? And and I just looked at that, and we had talked about that in the past, where if you look at voice, piano, and guitar, and the competencies that are required to fulfill those for music therapy, they all talk about a connection of a varied repertoire of songs, that are associated with that instrument, right? So if you're playing the piano, then you tend to play music that is geared towards the piano. So it tends to be a little more classical oriented, have that feel, right? Guitar tends to, not exclusively, of course, but tends to be a little more folky, maybe pop, that kind of music. Voice, of course, is a huge range. Uh, but then drumming, there's no there's no musical requirement that's similar. There's nothing that talks about a varied repertoire of songs or rhythms or anything. It just says you have to lead ensembles. So I guess part of our mission is so that we could get to that point where it's thought about, at least, where the music therapist would learn a little bit about the drumming music, because there is so much, you know, too much actually to cover in a lifetime. But just to connect with some of it would be one of the goals, probably.
absolutely. That repertoire is important. That framework with which we build our musicality. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff that can be done with the drumming, as the music therapist could then play and also teach. I've even done sessions in adult rehab where I've actually used that as an educational opportunity, because I'm working with adults.
Yeah.
Actually taught the group a little bit about how to play the drum, give them a leisure skill, help them develop a skill, build some confidence, have something to work on together while I'm not there all week. So yeah. So, well, as we look towards the future, you're currently a PhD student, doctoral student,
Mm.
and so I don't know if you care to talk about, you know, kind of something that you're excited about at this time, something you're working on, or something that you just see as a kind of either a personal or general vision, for yourself or for the profession moving into the future.
Sure. Where to start? Wow. It's been a wonderful open door here. I want to start there. What a supportive and wonderful environment. Great peers, great mentors, and I'm just very thankful for that. Um, I came up here with that lineage of the interest in the use of percussion in therapy, and I'm continuing that in my studies. I'm really digging into some particular areas, um, hopefully to better ground what my previous thoughts were, perhaps a revision of the book. Um, so I'm really excited about that. That's the project I'm working on right now. From that, I'm hoping to find some particular needs regarding experimental studies related to the use of percussion and fine motor skills. I also have I have adoration for working with children diagnosed with autism on the spectrum, and I have some interest in some research in that area. So a lot of possibilities, and I'm still kind of dabbling in before I jump all the way in. I also have some philosophical interests that, as I mentioned before, a unique approach to integration that I'm studying right now, trying to dig into, writing a lot. Took a wonderful class this last semester um, with a vocal pedagogy professor who also has degrees in philosophy. It was a class on aesthetics, and we got to read a lot of the great philosophers and their views on aesthetics. So that's been a great point of departure for me as well. Um, on that note, I feel like we're at a point of an interesting burgeoning in the field. There's going to be a new set of academicians and clinicians who are interested in mixed methods research, who are interested in complex modes of research that offer fuller and broader pictures, larger insights as to what it is we do as music therapists. We work with such a complicated medium, with such a broad range of people, that we need this. We need something more complicated, and we need something, I believe, more integrated than we've had in the past. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think there are many uh, up and coming academicians and current academicians that are pushing for this right now, and I'm really excited about that.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, I agree. You know, the within encompassing the breadth of the field, you can then bring that in to form a more unified view at the same time. Well, that's exciting. Well, as we get ready to complete our session, uh, could you just tell the listeners something about yourself that they might find surprising? Who's
I'll
the
actually,
real Bill Matney?
yeah, I'll tell you two, believe it or not, because they kind of segue. So the first one is I did not start playing music until after I graduated high school. Um, I I went to a high school that had an amazing drum line. It was one of the at the time one of the state and national winners, but it was not something I was particularly interested in. I didn't realize my musical capacity at that point. It wasn't until I was 19 that I bought a drum set and started playing. Um, but at that time, when I bought the drum set, uh, I started seeing that potential and played in rock bands. I toured, recorded,
That's
and
right. I remember seeing some photos of you with long hair on your Facebook
yeah,
page.
yeah, we're never going there again. Um, and that was kind of my entree, and I did that for a while and realized that it wasn't going to pay the bill, so I better go study and train and see where it leads. And it's been a wonderful path and journey. What I was so involved in while I was in high school actually was, so here's number two, was skateboarding. And believe it or not, 2 days ago I bought another skateboard, and I just so so there's my second one. And now everyone has their jaws on the floor. It, it's it's kind of interesting to go back to the things you loved when you were young and try them again and see what they're like. So I'm kind of enjoying that little journey again.
That's awesome. Please don't tell me you wear your pants more than this far below
No,
your waist.
no, I dress very casually. I pull my socks up so I don't hurt my shins. That's about the only thing that I do. Odd.
So you must look like a super nerd compared to the kids out there then.
Oh yeah. Actually, I haven't gone into the skate park yet. I've been going out to parking lots and just making stand up on the board right now.
That is awesome, Bill. That's so great. I mean, to just and to it just reinforces the idea that we all need to do something, recreational that we love to do, and it can be anything at all. Yeah, that's nice. I imagine too that doing something like that from, your childhood earlier, can bring back a lot of those kind of feelings as well, which could be
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's such a wonderful. I mean, any sport is, but it's such a wonderful kinesthetic connection. Um, that I've just been really enjoying that, just those sensations. It's been great.
Yeah. Talk about getting connected with the ground and then you're still weaving in and out. That's exciting. Well, I really want to thank you so much for being here, being on the program. How can people connect with you, contact you, etc.?
Oh, well, website billmatney.com, last name Matney, billmatney.com. You're more than welcome to email me at billmatney@mac.com. And of course, the music therapy drumming website, musictherapydrumming.com. Music Therapy Drumming is also on Facebook, so you can locate us there. And lastly, the publishing company that I began because of Totaku, and I wanted to make sure it was out there and available, is Sarson Publishing. So you can go to sarsonpublishing.com as well and look at the publications.
All right. Thank you so much, Bill. It's been a real pleasure, and I look forward to the next time we can get together in person.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kalani. I most appreciate it.
All right. My pleasure. All right. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Profiles in Music Therapy. That was Bill Matney, and look for more episodes in the future. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.